Hello everybody, welcome to video number 2. In this video I'm going to be talking a little bit about who I am and how I got to where I am today. I'm going to speak about my business, my faith, and ultimately my sobriety. So my name is Diego Caballero, and through my life I had a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I've had a lot of moments that have been very rough, near-death experiences. And I'd say that growing up in Miami, in the party life, it was a big temptation, a lot of temptation. But whether you're in Miami or whether you're in Virginia or Georgia or California, there's always going to be temptation in life. I personally believe that in order to get to where I am today, it took obviously 26 years, but it took a lot of mental fortitude. How you see me today is not how I was. I used to be what I would like to describe as a pretty evil person, someone who did very bad things. Spread hatred, spread evil, spread darkness for the most part. I was someone who was encapsulated by darkness back in my younger years, and I didn't really care. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about God. I didn't care about my physical well-being, my mental well-being, my spiritual well-being. And, through trials and tribulations, one learns to overcome obstacles. But sometimes it really does take hitting rock bottom to be able to go up. There's nowhere to go but up once you hit rock bottom. Let me get this microphone closer. So, I'm here to share my story, personally. And my story is one of struggle, endearment, and ultimately success. I was someone who struggled with addiction. I was someone who was very unhappy. I had a void inside of me. I felt like I couldn't really express myself properly, but what teenager can? Most teenagers can't express themselves properly. I felt really alone my teenage years. I felt misunderstood. And most of all, I felt like a victim of society, a victim of this world, a victim of other people, and lastly, a victim of God. Because even through my depth and my despair, I still believed in God, but it's almost like I blamed him, and I cursed him, and at some point I cursed him, And we've all been there, and if not all of us, some of us, but it really does take hitting rock bottom in order to be able to rise, because you can't get any deeper. You can't sink any deeper than rock bottom. But I remember my first step of healing was finding God. And what I mean by that is I realized that I had a deeper sense of purpose in this life. You can't walk around in life and believe that you're the only one here. There's other people here experiencing the same human experience that you do. And ultimately, we're all in this game together. All of us are clueless as to what is the end, what is the purpose, what is the goal. And that's where faith comes in, because to have faith is to follow blindly, but it's not blind. Faith is a feeling. Faith is to believe. And in order to believe in something, a lot of people have to see it. That's a really tricky thing. I've heard a lot of people tell me, oh, you got to see it to believe it. I got to see it to believe it. That's not true. If that were true, we wouldn't believe in space. We wouldn't believe in most things that science has proven to be true. But the way I like to see faith personally, it's almost like a gambit. In my opinion, to have faith is to take a risk. And in life, there really is no reward without risk. So if someone never has faith, someone will never take a risk. So I really do genuinely believe that the beginning of my risk taking in life, which is necessary, you know, when you propose to a woman, you're taking a risk. When you go to the candy store, you're taking a risk. When you breathe, you're taking a risk. I mean, even when you drink water, even the safest thing you can think about will take risk. So innately, it's all about risk and reward. And the way I really see faith is if you're standing on the top of a cliff and you say, "Oh man, this looks deep, you know, I can't jump. There's no way." I mean, faith is to say, jump. Jump and believe that you will be okay. Have faith that you will be okay. Because one thing's for sure, that if you never jump, you'll never move. You'll stay on top of that cliff until you decide to climb back down, which I guess is the safer option. But what I'm trying to get in your head here is risk is necessary part of life. So when I first started to believe in God, I took a risk. I took a risk in him. I believed in him. I had faith in him. It actually gave me a perspective in life that was much more beautiful than to be pessimistic, to be atheist, or to just believe innately that there's no purpose. I always tell people, even if you don't fully believe, start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Whether it's looking up and praying, even if you don't believe in the Lord, or if it's just trying to improve yourself so you can be better for a bigger purpose. Those things are heavily rewarded. So that was kind of the beginning of my changes, I would say, my maturing. I started to have faith. And when I started to have faith, I started to put more into myself. I started to think that there is more to life than simply, going out and partying, having drinks, women. Now, I will say that at 20 years old, I opened my first business, my freight brokerage, inspired by what I would say is a stroke of God's hand. I mean, one day I was at a festival with some family members, and one of them randomly told me, "Hey, get into this. This is for you." I mean, almost out of nowhere. And this gentleman, I barely had any connection with him, so he was part of the off family from my stepdad's side. So I said, "Man, I'm gonna do it," and I took a deep dive into the world of freight brokerage. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. But what I enjoyed more was being self-employed, being able to manage things, help people. Because whether you're working at a McDonald's or you're working at SpaceX, you're making a difference. You're helping people. Now, I wouldn't say every job is helping people. I'm sure there's some lawyers that put innocent people behind bars. But what I'm trying to say is you gotta find a job that really calls to you. And whether that's an employment style job or whether it's a business style job and you're gonna take that venture, everyone is different. And it's okay for people to play both roles. But my role has always been, I've always wanted to be the boss. I've always wanted to be in charge. I've always wanted to be the decision maker. So when I learned that you can easily just start your own business, that these conglomerate corporations all started somewhere, I had a little bit of faith. I said, wow, I can escape this employment life. Because for me, the hourly wage it's horrible. I mean, there should never be a set amount of money for your time. And although I pay my employees now hourly, I mean, I've offered them salary, they want hourly. I advocate against hourly. I think it was the biggest lie sold to the human race. Although necessary, because there has to be some type of valuation for time. I think time is, you can't get it back, and it is so precious. You want to come in? making a video. Get over here. This is Skylar. What's up, baby? Making a video. Alright. That's my beautiful girlfriend, Skylar. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Back to what I was saying about risk. So you have to believe to take a risk, because faith is inherently a risk. So once you have faith, you know how to take risks. So I took a risk on a business and it worked out. I was doing great for myself. A couple years passed, about a year and a half, 2 years, and my brother actually got an opportunity out here in Wisconsin. So I'm originally from Miami, born and raised in Miami, 22 years. I love Miami. I've never lived anywhere but Miami. But I knew that if I wanted to grow physically, spiritually, mentally, I had to go somewhere different, put myself in a different place, take a risk. So I convinced my brother to come out here together. I was working from home at the time. When I came out here, I was a little bit lonely. Didn't really know anybody, no friends, no family. It was just me and my brother. So I started participating in a church, doing some community work, and one thing led to another, and I was working for an older woman, and she had a cleaning company. I saw the cleaning company as a very easy opportunity. Low overhead. You get right in there. Chemicals are cheap, rags are cheap, vacuums are cheap. You get right in there, and there's barely any overhead, and since it's due to all of it being physical labor, most of it is profit. So one day I just quit, and the day I quit, I started my own commercial cleaning company, and this was back in early 2022. I would say maybe January. Now we're in 2025. My first year of business, we grossed $12,000. Nothing. I was still working part-time in my freight brokerage to make sure to be able to pay my bills. But I knew that I saw something in business ownership, I knew it. So I pursued. And once I started to really dip my foot in the commercial cleaning industry, I started to notice that I couldn't do both. I had to choose one. So I froze my freight brokerage because the operating costs were $3,000 a month. Freight brokerage is about moving loads. You move loads. So it's all about logistics. I love logistics and I love working from home, but I also enjoyed going out to the field and working in the field. I've had many jobs in Miami when I was a teenager. I worked as a cashier. I worked as a valet in downtown with the most beautiful cars, Rolls Royce, you name it. I've worked at the airport. I've done so many different jobs in my life that, quite frankly, I've busted tables. I used to work in a steakhouse. I used to work at IHOP. I've probably worked over 20 jobs in my life. So I knew the working market well. But once I started to really throw myself into my commercial cleaning company, I put my freight brokerage on hold. The first year we made $12,000. It wasn't enough to survive, but I started to scale. I started investing in advertisement companies. I started investing back into myself. I started to go to the gym again. Going to the gym is a very important part of life. You need it. You need to go to the gym. The gym is not just physical, but it's mental. Your body needs to be healthy physically, mentally, and spiritually. It assists you in all factors. I think the gym was one of the biggest factors in my life that changed my mentality on things. It made me very appreciative, and nobody's getting any younger, you know what I mean? So everybody really just has to try to slow down the aging. Why? Well, we all want to live as long as and as healthy as we can. So I started my journey on the cleaning, and after reinvesting some money into the company, I was able to accrue some subcontracts, and next thing I knew, I was making $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 a month. And I started saying, wow, this is just like my own business. Anything can be done. And little by little, I was able to scale. The second year, we did about 66 in sales, so 66,000. And then this past year, we were able to do $133,000, which all grace to God. My projected margins for next year are going to be around 200, 233. It's all about a slow and steady growth. Now, I've had people come up to me and say, man, you're killing it. You're doing amazing. Good for you. Like, and I look at them and I tell them, man, it's all the years of behind the scenes obscure work. I've been in and out of these bars. I've been cleaning bars. I've been cleaning restaurants. I've been cleaning clinics. I've been cleaning retail stores, you name it. I've been stripping and waxing floors. I've been doing high shelf dustings. I've been in a warehouse 30 feet up on a lift, a scissor lift, dusting ceilings. I mean, I'll do whatever it takes. But you need to have that hustler's ambition. You need to push forward. And in order to have that hustler's ambition, you need to have a risk-taking mindset. In order to have a risk-taking mindset, you need to have faith. I had faith in myself. I had faith in my business. I'm fully self-employed. This year, I just bought my first house. I mean, here we are, still in construction, a little bit. I bought it as is because, again, I took a risk. My life is composed of risks and rewards. But I never reward myself without first taking the chance, taking the risk. People who reward themselves constantly and don't actually execute are actually doing themselves a disservice, because you're actually rewiring your brain to believe that you deserve to have a reward when you didn't work. We all need to work. Work is a natural part of life, and it gives us meaning and purpose. But back to my business. My business has been the biggest tribulation in my life so far. Probably caused me the most amount of stress. And when I say stress, I mean real stress. I don't mean like anxiety, magical anxiety. I mean real life stress. Customers texting me, hey, this and that. Contracts. Things that really sometimes will boil your blood. And through all of it, I've had to show grace and put the better face up, because sometimes, not always, the customer's not always right, but the customer is usually always right. Sometimes you have to swallow the big pill, and you have to be the bigger man in life. And that comes with apologizing. That comes with admitting fault. When people can admit fault, they can grow. If you never tell yourself, I fucked up, you'll never learn the lesson. So yeah, just wanted to introduce myself to you guys, give you a little piece of my story. I'm not gonna talk about my youth. I was a child, not much to talk about. That's very interesting there. But I will say that through the years, I've cleaned myself up. I'm fully sober now. I'm a business owner, and all of the grace goes to God. And I keep what I can for myself. Because in the end, I've learned at 26 years old, and thank God that I've learned this, that you're going to want to spread light. You don't want to spread darkness. And when you spread light, you become a conduit. And the Lord needs conduits. He needs those soldiers of light to go out there and spread love. That's what the Lord is. He's love. He's definitely not hatred. So, and we know that there's some bad stuff going on in this world. So the presence of evil is prevalent, which only proves more the presence of God. But anyway, guys, 20-minute video. Little rant about my business, little rant about myself. You guys will get to know me over the years, I'm sure. Another video here, another one tomorrow. We're going to be releasing daily vlogs. Tomorrow I'll be talking about inspiration and discipline. What's the difference? That's a sneak peek for tomorrow's title. Tomorrow I'll be here again. I'm your guest, Diego Caballero, and this is Diego Unchained.